All right, it looks like we're live, and it's Ulrich with Highly Regarded, Tony the Burner with Global Game Day. This is my first opportunity to collab with another content creator, man, and I appreciate you reaching out. You saw some of my videos, my struggling or not struggling, but my new videos on TikTok, and you reached out, you extended the olive branch, and here we are, man. How are you tonight?
I'm doing real well. Thanks for coming on. No, and you're not struggling at all. You're like way ahead of the game. I really enjoyed your videos. You bring great knowledge and they're awesome. So thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. And
So
yeah, I mean your videos are great as well. And tonight, again, you have a veteran channel. I'm happy to collaborate with you. I do other stuff. I do Bitcoin podcasts. I do obviously highly regarded. And so this is like the first time I've ever done a live collaboration. I've done
mhm.
collaborations, but never live collaboration. So, some technical difficulties had to start a little 5 minutes later, but we're going to be watching the Laker game tonight. We're going to be going deep dive into different NBA stories. Do you have the game on somewhere?
I don't. I was hoping to stream it. I have it in another
Uh-oh.
room, but I don't have it on in front of me right now.
Okay,
So
that's fine. Well, I'll keep
yeah,
I'll keep us kind of posted on the Laker
yeah.
game, and then we'll comment on. I mean, right now it's the second quarter. I think it was a great time that we jumped on the stream. The Cleveland Cavs and the Toronto Raptors just went into overtime, or just finished overtime, and the Raptors had like this 2019 Kawhi-esque off the back of the rim and into the rim to basically beat the Cavs and extend that series into seven. So without let's just start off on that one. I haven't. I'll
Please.
be honest. I haven't watched that series at all. It's just kind of like the weird flex where it's like I'd rather watch the Knicks or the Lakers and the Rockets. And so, what are your thoughts on that series if you've watched it at all?
I've watched a little bit of it. Unfortunately, tonight we were messing around with this, so I missed most of it. But
Yeah.
I have huge thoughts on James Harden. I just want to share this real quick because I think like after some of the games, when I would go live, he would like score 40 against the Pelicans, and the next day, oh, this guy's a top five shooting guard. He's this and that. But my problem with him is when the playoffs happen and things tighten up, he can't do some of those things anymore, and he's defensively he's a sieve. He's not a great matchup, for his team defensively. He's just not. And if his shots off, we've seen him have some like historically bad playoff games. And I just don't think he's a guy that you can count on. He's going to have good playoff games, but he's going to have cold playoff games. He's not giving you anything defensively. So I was never excited for the Cavaliers when they got him, to be honest.
Okay,
So
so you're saying that the comparison. So of course they traded Darius Garland for him. I forget
yeah,
the supporting, if there were supporting. Maybe it was for the most part straight up.
I think there was
But
a few picks involved as well.
right.
I
So
think,
if
yeah.
you're thinking about Garland and you're thinking about Harden, you think that they basically had a net loss. The Cavs had a net loss in gaining Harden and losing Garland.
It's it's hard to say that because Harden is obviously a better player than him. But with Harden comes other periphery type
Yep.
things, that you have to account for. Like he needs his usage, he needs to, do things a certain way. And he's not gonna give you a solid defensive. He might sometimes. He's not a good defensive player. He's a horrific defensive player that shows up in the playoffs, and he's not himself when the game slows down. When it's playoff basketball, I don't love his game. I'm sorry. Not to say he hasn't had good playoff games, but is it a net loss? That's tough to say. I don't know if they were a contender with Garland, without Garland, with Harden, without Harden. I guess is what I'm long-winded trying to say. I don't think they're ready to win yet. And I don't think Harden gets you any closer, in my opinion.
I think you I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't like I think that here's what Harden does. It gives them an opportunity to say, if we're gonna win, we're gonna add veteran, you can't even call it leadership, but veterans presence. He's been in the playoffs a lot, more than Garland. So maybe this gives us a slight edge in the playoffs. But if it doesn't work, which it probably won't, it's easier to liquidate everything. So when Harden's
Yeah.
contract is up, it's like, hey, it was a nice try, but here's the rebuild time. And then they trade Donovan Mitchell. They maybe look to move Jared Allen. Maybe they rebuild around Evan Mobley. But I think that's the big play. This is like the final shot. It's almost like a Hail Mary where the
It
Clippers
is.
are like they're the rebuild, and now they have a bunch of young guards and Kawhi Leonard, and it's not even a rebuild with Garland and Mathurin. It's almost like a retool because Kawhi would probably go get liquidated somewhere, go play with the veteran team, and then you have the young guard core. You have a lot of young wings, and so it's like they don't have to start fully over, kind of like the Dallas Mavericks are.
They
So
don't
I
have
think
to
that
start fully over, but they may also be in no man's land, which is the worst place to be when you're an NBA team. Either you're not good enough and you're not bad enough. That's almost the worst place to be in the NBA, as
like the
you know.
Chicago Bulls.
Yes, yeah, exactly. They're in no man's land. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The Wizards are horrible, but at least they're going to be horrible for the next couple of years. But and another thing about James Harden as well, you know what I really think his best role would be, and there are people that agree with me on this. I've thought this for a while. He needs to go back to his roots. I think he should be a six man, quite honestly, because first of all, I think that will save his career. Secondly, he could come off the bench for 20 to 25 minutes and just jack shots. I think he brings you much more value at this point, and I don't care what the stats say. I don't care what he did over the regular season. I don't care. I think he brings you more value in a playoff situation where he's coming off the bench as instant offense, as opposed to he's one of your main guys that has to play defense on actual players. So
After 16 years or however long he's played, it seems like the most successful scenario has been in, and I can't disagree with you. I mean, and at some point, everyone kind of, I mean, you see LeBron James is in that situation right now. I mean, he's starting, but he's the clear third option on that team when fully
yeah,
healthy. And so Harden staying at that number two option, it makes for a decent regular season team. But if you're trying to be in the Final Four, if you're trying to get to the NBA Finals with James Harden on your team, maybe he is better, yeah, as a third or fourth option, and that would require him to take a substantial pay cut, and
that's
that's
probably the main issue with that. I mean,
yeah.
but I don't actually know. I think honestly, if he was like the most valuable six man, then he could still get a sizable
Oh,
paycheck. Maybe not what
sure.
he's getting, but I don't I don't know. I just think he needs to probably look at that at this option at his age. I'm not discounting anything he's done or the year he averaged 35, but we're not there anymore. And I don't know.
Not even.
It's
That's
you
right.
know what I mean? But
I yeah, that's I mean, it's so funny. Like I live in Los Angeles, and I don't think I've heard anyone explicitly say, there's a lot of hate for James Harden, and I try to when there's an exorbitant amount of hate for a certain player, I like to take up the defense for them. I'm try to be
yeah.
objective and or balanced. So for instance, we hear a lot of hate from LeBron because guess what? This is worst season ever. And so it's like there's people, the haters are going to pile on more because there's more food, there's more fuel for them. And so I've defended LeBron more this year than ever, but for years I've defended Harden. For years, it's like, hey, Harden is good enough to play wherever he wants. So I don't, if you hate him because he wants out of his team, don't
Yeah.
pay him, but someone's going to pay him. So it's like I've defended Harden, but those narratives still weigh the same. He isn't coming through he may win a first round. Like they'll probably beat the Raptors in game 7, at home. The odds are
Yeah.
for him. But what happens in the second round? We've seen that before. Probably going to fold against the Knicks or they're the 4 seed. Probably going to fold against the Pistons. If the Pistons make
Could
it,
be the Magic, yeah.
that maybe they have an opportunity to they're better shooters than the Pistons. Let's talk about that one. I mean, the Pistons are coming back from a 3-1 series. They're down
Yeah.
3-2 now. Oh, or did they tie it? What
It's 3-2.
it's 3-2. No, they just played tonight. I think it may be tied now.
Oh yeah. I missed it. Was my mother
Yeah,
had a little birthday
that's
thing, so
right.
I
That was the
missed that.
first
Yeah.
game. That was the first. Happy
Yeah.
birthday to the mom. Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Poor lady
But
had to
like,
put up with me. So
so it's tied 3-3 now. They're
yeah.
coming back from a 3-1 deficit. It's likely they have a momentum to continue in. But let's just say the Magic win this and they beat them on the road like they did already. How do you see the Magic matching up against the Cavs? A
I
lot of
think the
speculation.
Cavs I don't like the Magic that much, but I
Right.
think that they match up really well with the Cavs because, and I think in the same way that the Celtics would match up with the Cavs, just these kind of long wings kind of guys that would
Yeah.
just, I think that Mitchell's a great player, but guys like that can shoot over him if he has to defend a guy much taller than him, like a Wagner or a Banquero or something like that. But they are long at they are kind of built in the same way the Celtics are. They're just not as good, but they put an emphasis on the long wing thing, and that is a matchup thing. Like people look at, oh well, the Spurs have Wemby. Well, teams with versatile, switchable wings are also bad matchups.
That's right.
So you know what I'm saying? So I think Cleveland is not a great matchup for Orlando, whether they pull it out or not, but I think Orlando has favorable matchups. I do.
Yeah, and I think they're showing. Oh, by the way, comment here from a friend of mine, Team Ulrich here. He says, "Nice chain. I need to go to your jeweler." That's your other coworker, my friend. That's your other coworker. Beautiful coffee cup too, representing the old company name. Subtle
There you
flex.
go.
The NBA change on the Harden fouls changed his game. So the NBA change on the Harden fouls changed his game. So did they? There's a lot of, sweep through is kind of like the Kevin Durant sweep through. They kind of changed
Yes.
the way they stopped calling that.
Yeah.
They
I
probably,
hated that call.
I kind of like that they stopped calling that.
You
That's a little
agree.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something that people don't realize before we go down, before we go too far. We'll say this that, people think that there's too many fouls in the game nowadays, but my channel where I'm all about the stats and the objectivity. There are
Yeah.
actually more foul calls in the late 80s and the early 90s than there are now.
Yeah.
So now we could say that maybe they were harder and more pronounced. Yeah, but the stoppage of the game doesn't change it. It's like there's more stoppage in this game nowadays.
Yeah.
And Harden benefited from that. Great free throw shooter, SGA, whenever the game is stopped.
Yeah.
SGA, Luca, Harden, they all benefit from that. But I'll say that you can't deny that there are fewer fouls now than before. Here's what I think about the matchup with the Cavs versus the Magic. I think that what
Yep.
the Magic showed is that they can stop a team that isn't a consistently good shooting team. And it was
Yeah.
surprising. You have Duncan Robinson. They don't play the other white boy. I forget his name. He was from Chicago.
Oh,
I forget.
yeah.
But then
No, I know you.
but
Yeah, I know exactly
Herder,
what you're saying.
Herder. Yeah, they don't play
Yeah,
Herder. He's
yeah,
not in the
yeah.
rotation.
Keith Herder. Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, and
Kevin Herder.
he
Kevin
shoots
Herder.
well. So like the Pistons are an inconsistent shooting team. The Orlando Magic inconsistent shooting team, but you have the Cavs who, like you said, they're long. They have Mobley and Allen, but they also have shooters. They have Strus, they have Harden, they have Mitchell, they have Wade,
Yeah.
and I don't think that either. I'm not going to say either. I'm going to say that the Pistons and the Magic will have trouble. They've had a whole series of playing against people like you can dare them to shoot, and all of a sudden, hand down, man down against the Cavs, they could surprise both of those teams and be up early in the series, maybe before both of those teams adjust. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, it's like both ways, no matter how you slice it, maybe Harden has a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals because these teams just can't keep up with the scoring potential of the Cavs.
They did have favorable matchups. They couldn't have probably asked for better draws, even though they're not playing well against them. But they didn't have to play the Knicks in the first round. They didn't have to play the
Right.
Celtics in the first round. They have favorable draws getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. If you could have said, we're going to give you the Raptors and the Magic, or the Raptors and even the Pistons, they would have taken that. because the Pistons are an inexperienced team. They would have taken that route over the
The
other.
Cavs.
Yeah, the Cavs
Right.
would have taken the route they got. If you told them this was going to be their route, they would have said, "This is a favorable route for us," without having to play the Knicks or the Celtics and blah. We have to go through the Raptors and potentially the Magic or the Pistons, and they would have rather gone that way, I feel like. But who knows? We'll see what happens. The Magic are still a young team. They're not a really experienced playoff squad either. The Cavs are a more experienced team. I just don't love Harden in big situations. Think about
Yeah.
this. I think one of his biggest chokes, if I may, is not. I'm not going to talk about the Warriors series all those years ago. I think it was 2017, the 10-point game 7 or whatever it was. But I think the Celtics, it was 24. It was 24. And when he was on the Sixers, and he had
He wasn't on the
240.
Sixers in 24. That was still
When
the
did they
Clippers.
lose to? It was 23. They lost to the Celtics then. In
Hold on, let
6
me look.
games. When he was on the Sixers, it was 23, I think it was. And I
Huh.
think he had,
Oh, I remember that.
yes.
And he was very muted. He was
Yes,
very
in the game
absent.
6, he had 2 bad games in that series, and they ultimately cost the Sixers. And really, I don't care what the statistic says. In game 6, he was a no-show.
Mhm.
And I think he started shooting the ball well towards the end of the game or something, but no, he has come up small in really big situations, and he gets exploited. And listen, I'm with you. I don't like doing on people too much, because I think people take things and they blow it out of proportion. This guy sucks. He doesn't suck at all. I'm not saying that Harden doesn't suck at all. He's a Hall of Famer, but there's a lot of guys that would take over him, especially in this playoffs. So
And there are gamers who perform in. I mean, think about it. I don't think that Jamal Murray has a better career than James Harden,
no,
but in those certain moments, maybe you take him over than James Harden. Maybe you say, hey, if I had to build my playoff team, I prefer to have Jamal Murray than James Harden. And that's not, I wouldn't, regardless of my ranking system or your ranking system. In the case of the scenarios, like you have to win the playoff game right now. Harden may likely get you to a playoff series more
Yeah.
often, but in terms of when you're there, what happens? The Lakers just finished halftime, by the way. It's 49-31 Lakers. They're shooting well. Again, without Kevin Durant, they look a little absent. By the we want to talk about so little time. I was pulling up that series, by the way, and man, Harden, game 2, Boston. You're talking about the Boston series, right?
Yep.
Boston and Sixers. He was on the Sixers, and he was 2 for 14 in game 2 for 12 points. He was,
and that's
3
a
for
horrific
14.
game for a number 1 scorer. A 12-point game.
3 for 14 in game 3.
Yep.
And then the last game he was 3 for 11. Game 6, he was 4 for 16. Went to 7 games. Now, here's the funny thing. And I remember this because I was like, he's back, and then he goes away. Then he's back, and then he goes away. He had 2 games that series of over 40 points, 45 in game 1.
Yeah, he had 2 40-point games.
And 42 in game 4.
Yeah.
Up and down. That's a 6-man. That's that pop off the bench. Where it's like, if you're hot, it's an instant win. But if you're not, at least you have your starters that you should rely on. I think you're the first person I've heard say this, and maybe I'm not paying attention, but he needs to be coming off the bench now.
Well, I said it to some people on a live, and they're like, I never thought of that, but it kind of makes sense. And not to say I know all this stuff, but I said he would be like, if you think about Vinny Johnson, Vinny the Microwave Johnson used to play for the Pistons, he'd be like that on steroids coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like, he could be one of the great 6-men. You think about the great 6-men, it's like, Jamal Crawford, who's the other guy? Lou Williams, I
think Jason Terry started coming off the bench a little bit.
Jason Terry, Kevin McHale has a couple 2 6-Man of the Year awards.
That's right.
He would be every bit as good as those guys. Who's that?
Manu Ginobili.
Yeah, Ginobili has a lot. Yeah, so he would be on that level, although he's not the defender Ginobili is.
No,
but
like Crawford, like the ones you named, they are straight offense. They were straight. Yeah. That's funny. I mean, even what's his name, who's on Karis LeVert, has shown better success when he's coming off the bench than starting. It's just, there's something missing there. You can't put your finger on it, but he was a fine starter for a regular season setup. But he obviously, if he wants to win a ring, maybe he has to change his role. But I mean, going back to the West, Lakers up 18 points at halftime. We haven't
Unreal.
talked about the West at all. So there's a scare for that series for the Lakers. If you lose that series and they have Kevin Durant in one game, there's a problem. And yeah, I guess I do have to kind of get that bet ready. We made a bet before the series started, and here we are. Wow, good thing that I didn't put. He was very nice. Kay was very nice to make the bet even, and so I didn't have to pay out that massive. I think it was 6-1. Oh my gosh! So Kay, I
Yeah.
owe you a beer. Thank you very much. So what are your thoughts on the Lakers series? I mean, what are your thoughts on Kevin Durant? Tell me about what this series means to the legacy of two of the greatest players of all time.
Okay. I don't think I have so many. All right. Let me try to put this the right way. So here's my thing. I don't think I know this will disappoint some people. I don't think it sways okay, as far as LeBron goes, I don't think it sways the GOAT conversation in any way
Right.
because he beat a Rockets team who's kind of, let's face it, they're a little bit in limbo. They don't have their stuff together like some of the other Western Conference teams does
First
ever
round
since the
matchup too.
burner phone incident. I mean, listen, I am not in any way discrediting LeBron or the Lakers or anything. I want to make that clear, but I don't think that sways the GOAT conversation for me. The next day after the first game, they were like, "Oh, LeBron's a GOAT. If you don't agree, you don't know ball." It was one play. This is a first round playoff series against, frankly, an inexperienced playoff team that doesn't take away from LeBron, but it doesn't sway the GOAT conversation for me. But however, I will say this: Kevin Durant, it's been a little bit of a disappointing year, and I think he's never been the sort of leadership guy. He's never been that, and that shows now. But you would think at his age and being in his late 30s, he could maybe pick up a little bit sort of that mantle, but it was kind of the opposite thing with the burner phone thing. But they're just not the same team they were at the beginning of the year. Losing Fred Van Vliet did hurt because I think he was also going to be that veteran presence that Durant bounces off sort of thing that the older
Right.
guy can relate to and stuff. So that never happened. But I think honestly, this is a stain for Durant because he could have really put a dent in some lists if he carried this team and said, "Oh, the Lakers are missing guys. I'm going to ball out." And he
Yeah.
just goes out there and hoops. And he hasn't done that. And I just think him joining the Warriors, that's the only two rings he has. I never try to discredit anyone for anything, but you got to factor that in a little bit at this point. That the only titles he has was joining a super team. you
Yeah.
know, and I'm a Durant fan. I just want to put that out there.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right. And so I think the funny thing about Durant is that it's not the Hollywood story for what makes a successful basketball career. It's not the again when comparing everyone to Jordan, everything is a fugazi. Everything is false. Everything is less than. He had 6 for 6. Struggled in the East, and then all of a sudden, no one can touch him, and he retired and came back, and it's like, okay, Hollywood story. They're going to make a movie about him. I'm surprised I mean, they've made documentaries. I think they made a bad movie as well. Um, you know, the catch
yeah,
is that there's multiple, in my opinion, like there's so many ways to score a basketball. There's many ways to be relatively successful. And when I compare Kevin Durant to other players, it's like he's in such a small air of, gosh, would I rather have his career than someone else's career? Like for instance, like no Gary Payton is an example. Like great player, first team All NBA and first team All Defense for like I think 9 years. I know that because that was like in my short. It's like that's
yeah,
crazy. It's like he was the epitome of a point guard during all the '90s.
And a
And
defensive player of the year in the heart of the 90s, which as a point guard is pretty
that's
impressive, actually.
that's pretty crazy because that was the core of the defensive era, and he
Yep.
was the guy, the glove. And I'm thinking, like, gosh, would I rather have his career or Kevin Durant? And it's like, well, that's a premier point guard in a very respected era, and I gotta say, still rather have Kevin Durant's career.
He's got
And
the rings. Yeah, of
he's got the
course.
rings, he has the MVPs, he has the scoring titles, he has the all-time, he's and then just from the he has the shoe deals, he's gonna be selling shoes after he retires. And I just think that the closer you get to Jordan, the more flack you get. It's like I remember Shaq was getting so much flack during his career because he's lazy and he was like this and
Yep.
that. I'm like, would I rather have Shaq's career or Hakeem Olajuwon's? Notice that Hakeem doesn't get any flack, but
No.
Shaq does. And why? Because he was closer to being the greatest of all time. So it's an interesting dynamic where people drum up animosity towards certain players. And I see that the more animosity that we drum up towards them collectively, it's almost like the more they know that they're good, but one of two things: either they wish they did more, or they're scared of that guy passing their favorite player, or scared of him passing Michael Jordan. And look, I don't think anyone's has passed Michael Jordan, but
No.
the threat of it, you can see. I'm from LA,
Yeah.
and I remember when LeBron was in his rising up and Kobe was in his prime, there was a
Yeah.
lot of hate for LeBron, and he hadn't even won a title. I'm like, why do people hate LeBron? What did he do? He's just playing ball. It's like they hate him because Kobe was the heir apparent,
Yep.
and you could you can smell. It's like Jurassic Park when you see the Tyrannosaurus in the rearview mirror. Objects
Yep.
appear closer than they are.
Yeah.
Or objects are closer than they appear, and it's like
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
mouth. It's like LeBron is right there and coming up behind Kobe's ass, and it's like that's why LA fans hated him so much until he decided to take his talents to LA, and they still hate him because what for whatever reason. It's
He
interesting.
doesn't have. Oh, I thought he had 100% backing in LA. Was that
No,
not the
no,
case?
no. They kick him when he's down. They kick him.
Yeah.
They like him when the Lakers. And again, all the LA fans will say that I'm not an LA fan, but the Laker fans will kick him when he's down, and when he does well, they're kind of like, yeah, yeah, yeah. LeBron's the best. So a little bit of what do you call it? The
Fair
um
weather.
fair weather fans, but
Yep.
that's LA. I mean, there's always fair weather in LA, so you can't.
Yeah.
They're the epitome of fair weather, right?
Yeah.
It's funny.
Unfortunately, up here, people live and unalive by their teams to sick extents in some in some ways. But
I
you
don't think
know,
I can go to. I don't think I can go to games if it's snowing. I'm like, I just need to survive. I don't
well,
get how
just
people would be doing
football
that.
would just football really. But yeah,
Even getting to the games, it's cold to get to the games. Like, keep your ass inside.
yeah, no,
that's me.
it's
I'm like cool running. I'm
oh,
like,
it's either too cold, the summer it's too humid. I mean, it's just wild up here. The weather's wild. Well,
Eddie says they compare everyone to Jordan for a reason. He is the weight on the scale. Everyone else tries to be the counterweight, and that is true. That I think
heavy is the
that
head that wears the crown.
yeah, yeah.
You
But
know,
the funny thing is that person who has the crown has an army behind him, and but the funny thing is that the guy who appears to be like him is, and in my opinion, is nowhere near him, and that's such a rabbit hole on its own. But Kobe has such a following, and maybe because LA, and maybe I can ask you how it is in Boston, but Kobe is treated like Jordan here.
I can
And it's
tell you.
go ahead.
He is he is very well respected around here. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I you probably have a black mamba tattoo on my forearm here right after Kobe's passing. And I got to see Kobe play a bunch in person. I got to go to the 2010 finals in Boston when they were playing against them. That was a really amazing experience to see Kobe in the finals with Paul Pierce, all those guys. It was incredible.
Mhm.
But he is very well respected around here, and certain little respect things go far in Boston like that. And during Kobe's final game in Boston, like, he got a standing ovation, and he said some nice things to the crowd, and he always said that he understood the weight of a Celtics Lakers game and how that game holds a little more weight than the other games, and he respected that historically. And the fans, Kobe just wasn't this guy that was so hated in Boston. Some athletes are. He was not one of them, But we also liked Jordan. We cheered for Jordan in Boston, especially in the mid '90s when the Celtics were so horrible. But we did. We cheered for we
The Antoine
respected him.
Walker
We
era.
respect players. Yeah, Antoine. Although I gotta say, I've met Antoine a couple times, and I work with at-risk kids. And years ago, he came to a program I was working at, and he really took his time to talk to the kids. So I will say, just anecdotally, Antoine Walker was really good, and took his time to talk to kids, and it made their world for him to treat them with the respect that he did. So that was cool. But yeah, they sucked on the court. And especially when Rick Pitino. Okay, people don't remember this. Let me just bring this before we go on to
Yeah.
anything. Rick Pitino came in, and he's the GOAT now. Everybody says this guy wanted to do pressing and trapping for 82 games in an NBA season. I just want to say that
I bet
his
you,
plan was to press and trap. And the first game they played in 1996 was against the was 95 96 90. What the hell was it? The 96 Bulls, 95 96. And no, it was 97. It was Patino's first year. Sorry. He pressed and trapped Jordan and the Bulls in the first game of the regular season. Antoine was up on the inbounds pass, jumping and waving his arms after a basket in the NBA.
yeah.
And he
I'll
gave more money to Travis Knight than Scottie Pippen was making.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll say that once you get to
Sorry.
be once you get to be about 25, maybe 20, maybe a little older, maybe 26, presses just don't scare you. I mean, I just
No,
playing
no.
myself playing the Drew League, like I was never like I wasn't the best player out there by far, but let you press me, and it's like the easiest game to play. The floor is wide open.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. The pressure comes when they're either baiting you to shoot and you're freaking off and you're 0 for 4. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to shoot another one. Or they're playing a very long half court defense. That's the scary part where it's like if you can get by the 6'8" guy, there's another
Yeah.
6'8" guy there. So
Yeah.
Rick Pitino pressing, he good thing he went back to college.
It
You're
was ridiculous. I'm sorry. I can't even believe he did that to this day.
talking about a one-trick pony. Your own channel helping out with the conversation. He says, thoughts on Wemby being the greatest of all time if he stays healthy.
Be
I'll let you
quiet,
go
Eric.
first.
Okay. I just want to say, if I say Jordan's the GOAT, it's not because I'm being an old head, it's because I think so. So I'm going to preface that with saying that Wemby has GOAT potential. He has GOAT potential. He's just got to stay healthy. He's got to win a few rings. He's got to win some DPOYs. But this guy legitimately has GOAT potential. I'm sorry. He has almost no weaknesses in his game. Yeah. What do you think? I think he has the GOAT potential. I do. If anyone does, it's him right now.
So I'm a numbers guy. I want to pull up his a very important number, and it's called games played.
Yeah.
And so this
Yeah.
is an era of what would you say of load management. This is an era of
Yes.
load management. The best players in the league don't play. If they play 70 games, you think that's a great season.
It's a great season. Yeah.
Yeah,
7
that's
games.
very active. And I remember watching a game, and they said like he played 65 games this season, and the announcer said that like that was an accomplishment. But guess what? They narrow their scope to meet the awards. They're not everyone's not Miles Bridges. Like Miles Bridges is trying to be an Iron Man for the era, and that's good. You know, he'll play a few hundred games in a row. But when I think about the GOAT potential, you're going to be comparing yourself to a lot of people that have played and scored a lot of points per season. And we're not talking points per game. I'm talking about points per season. I'm talking because you're going to be when at the end of your career, you're going to be saying, well, what did you accomplish? How many you say, oh, he played 15 seasons, but compared to the other guy who played 15 seasons, he doesn't have as many points. Why? Well, because every season he played 65 games. So one of the major important things is that you have to be available in order to be the GOAT. LeBron, who's the only, in my opinion, the only guy close to LeBron from a GOAT status, has played 23 seasons, and he's going to slow down. He is slowing down. He has slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Wemby, who's 7'4", 7'5", 7'6", and as he slows down, will he be able to maintain that consistency the way LeBron did? Because, and if he doesn't, then he has to have Jordan-esque production in his prime and retire early like Jordan did, or have fewer seasons like Jordan did. So I don't see Wemby having that dense body of productivity where he's averaging, 33 points a game. And, get basically, in order for him to do that, he has to kind of be Jokic, and he has to play a bunch of games, or he has to have that Jokic level productivity and do it for like 18 seasons.
He's not going to play that long.
Yeah, I don't think his body can. He's not.
We have some evidence for it because Ralph Sampson played similar to him, and granted, that's 40 years. Are you familiar with Sampson at all?
Yeah, he was on the Rockets.
Yeah, he was 7'4". He played a fast game. He played above the rim. He did all that stuff. He had
down.
He had 3.5 awesome seasons. He really was. He's probably, outside of Wemby, one of the greatest giant players, 7'3" plus guys we've had in that short span that you see. But he literally had 3.5 seasons. Then he was done. He bounced around. Akeem was never this. That really ruined Akeem's window too. But my point is just that Sampson is kind of built like Wemby in a lot of ways, and there's just no track. There's only one guy that big that's ever held up, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Mark Eaton, outside of one season, a guy who was 7'4" and 300 pounds. I think it was only 1 year he appeared in below 80 games. He was a very durable guy for that size, but he also
didn't have to do that much because he was basically
the
sixth option on the Jazz. I mean, he's basically the big man. Malone and
so
Stockton,
there's no evidence that he can stay healthy. There's no evidence he can stay healthy outside of Mark Eaton, who didn't play similar. No one else that size outside of him has stayed healthy. No one.
And Mark Eaton wasn't even near the product. He was very durable, but nowhere near the productivity. So
but he was an excellent defensive player.
Absolutely. I mean, he had one season, 5.6 blocks a game. I'm looking at it right now. Goodness gracious. I mean,
well, that's the all-time record.
Yeah, it was so, and he actually does have the all-time record for blocks per game, 3.5. He had that season with 5.6 blocks. It was so high. He actually got, and he was Defensive Player of the Year that year. He actually got MVP votes. And he averaged 9.7 points a game, 11.3 rebounds, and 5.6 blocks.
What a stat line.
Wow. Like Wemby's not getting that many blocks.
No. There's only one guy who ever has outside of Eaton, and that's Wilt, and probably Bill Russell, but Wilt
and they're not, and they weren't even tracking them, so we can't we know. Well,
we know somewhat now. Did you hear about the stats that came out recently?
Oh, were they going back counting games?
So we had 112 because he had a statistician that followed him named Harvey Pollack They had 112 verified block games that he averaged 8.8 blocks a game. They've dug up some. He has 145 verified block games now, and he averaged 7.7 blocks a game. But his best season is 1967. They have 7 games from that season verified blocks. He averaged 10 blocks a game in those 7 games. 10 blocks a game. But here's the crazy part. Here's why it translates a little better than you think, is because the final season, he has now 1 season according to Basketball Reference where Wilt is has a verified block season on Basketball Reference. It's 5.4 blocks a game.
Yeah,
And Kareem, I believe, in the same season was 3.5 blocks a game. And we're talking unicorn Kareem and old Wilt. So
that
that's
was
why
the
that's interesting.
that was the peak of Kareem. I mean,
Yes.
from a win share perspective, if it wasn't that season, it was a season before, he had the most win shares ever in one season. So that's like, in terms of, if we're talking about a single player like just dominating an entire, for one guy for one team, that was Kareem. And I don't want to pull up right now, but it was in the early 70s. So yeah,
Yeah.
you have the end of life Wilt. And by the way,
Yeah.
it was not really end of life. He just walked away from it. They were
Just
trying
walked
to
away
pull
from
him
it.
they were trying to
Yeah.
pull him back to play in the 80s. Like he
Yes.
was a freak athlete. He went on to play volleyball. He played volleyball with my pastor. My pastor in around the corner. He has stories about how he played volleyball in Hermosa Beach with Wilt Chamberlain. And that guy was just, and mind you, my pastor is probably 70 right now.
Yeah.
So,
I believe that.
he was probably in his prime, like playing volleyball with him in the 80s and 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, the guy was just, he loved to be in shape, and he was definitely one of those, just, he was a unicorn his whole life, let's just say, to use your word. But yeah, I mean, 5.4 block. I didn't even notice that. I've never noticed that they
Yes.
actually have a
That's because it
recorded.
just went up a few weeks ago.
Wow, that's
That's what
why.
I'm talking about. There was all these extra. It was like this big thing a few weeks ago, and I'm a Wilt freakazoid because I have, out of all my content, I made a playlist now. I have 34 Wilt videos.
That's good.
34.
He
That's
deserves it.
psycho. Yeah, I know it's psycho, but I do. Yeah, I have 34 Wilt videos.
I have
But
Kareem ranked in front of Wilt. If you had to put, I know, and I'm like, my whole system is all about the numbers. You can either use the numbers or your subjectivity or your bias. Who do you have higher ranked, Wilt or Kareem?
I have Wilt ahead of him,
Right on.
and I'll tell you why. Like,
Let me make sure.
as a rebounder, Wilt completely clears him. As a shot blocker, Wilt completely clears him. As a passer, Wilt completely clears him. Wilt's a much better passer than Kareem ever was. And Kareem did have the skyhook, of course, but I think Wilt had just as many post moves. He had a fadeaway. If you've never seen Wilt do a fadeaway, he could do it consistently. He does
I've
it
seen
great.
that. Yep.
But he might have the most unstoppable shot in the history of basketball, or one of which is his drop step, because it's so. All right, can I be a geek for a second?
Geek out. That's what we're here
Okay,
for.
let me geek out for a second. When you watch Wilt on the post, it's very interesting because the players, when you watch like players from that era play each other, they play each other physical on the post. They don't do it to Wilt. They play off of him. I thought at first it was because his strength that they didn't want to get thrown. But what I realized was his legs, if he could just hook his leg around you and he was posting up, he could take off from outside the paint and dunk the ball. All he had to do was hook the leg. It was over. He has a 7'8" wingspan. He could just reach out and dunk the ball. I mean, his drop step they feared his drop step more than being bullied by him. They played off of him. And they knew if they played off of him, they had a chance to maybe bother the fadeaway because the fadeaway was unblockable. They could maybe get a chance to run at the fadeaway, but you weren't stopping the drop step if he hooked his leg around you. It was over. No one
Interesting.
can stop that.
And by the way, I stand corrected. I actually do have Wilt in front of Kareem. I have my top 5 ranking is actually Michael Jordan, LeBron, Wilt, Kareem, and then Magic Johnson. But like
Very
this
similar
quote
to
right
mine.
here. Oh, I'm not actually not this one right here. So less chance for Wemby. circling back, it's funny that
Yeah,
you talk about that because Wilt's shorter and not as long as Wemby, even though he's very long himself. But it's like I remember seeing in game 3, well, the whole series, Drew Holiday was guarding Wembanyama. And I'm
yeah,
like, wow. It's like
yeah.
that Wemby doesn't even have the strength, and I don't think ever will have the strength to say, you can't put a guard on me. I mean, you
That's
could
crazy.
take
Yeah,
you could
that
take
would
the
never
same
happen with
formula.
Wilt in any
No,
era.
no.
In
Like
any era, that would never happen.
Desmond
Yeah,
Bain, I think Desmond Bain could theoretically guard Wemby with the same like formula. Bain is built like a large running back, and he's like 6'3", 6'4", but stocky. It's like do the lean on him the same way Drew Holiday does. I mean, Rui is guarding Jokic, and why? Because he's a strong undersized power forward, so you kind of
yeah.
get lower than him. Rui should be guarding Wemby in the same way. I just feel like Wemby has a very a glaring shortcoming that if I mean maybe he just needs to turn into a premier shooter and just shoot over everyone because he's definitely not going to get easy buckets the way Jordan or Chamberlain or Kareem did. And that
What if he
that
goes to the post and he goes to fadeaways? What if he goes
yeah.
both ways? Like he fades one way, he does a turnaround jumper the other way. I think those things would be unblockable if he did those on the regular, you know. But
And he needs I mean, he turns around and no everyone's too short for him. I mean, and when you
I
think about
know.
it, like he's 7'6", 7'5", 7'6", depending on what you hear. But it's like, think about I'm 6'2", and if someone playing against me is 5'9", it's really easy to just turn and shoot. Wemby has a better advantage over the average NBA player than I have over an undersized guard. And it's
Yeah,
like the guys who are guarding him, they're a foot shorter than him. They're 9 inches shorter than him. Turn
yeah.
around and just and be the most unblockable shot ever, which is for him a turnaround jump shot, and just do it at an
Yes.
80% clip. If Kareem could do it,
Please.
why can't you?
Why can't you do it?
And
Yeah.
it really shows how
If he
great
ever
Kareem was.
decided to shoot a skyhook, I mean, I know people aren't going to shoot a skyhook. I'm not being stupid.
LeBron tries to do it. I think he's getting
Yeah,
bored with the NBA.
exactly. But he's got that's the thing. Like if Wemby were to even guard Wilt, he couldn't because
No,
he's giving up almost 100 pounds at his peak
no.
weight. If you go at Wilt at 320, 325 at his peak,
Oh,
you know they. And listen, I do think Wemby has GOAT potential, but he has to develop some of those signature things. But he is only in year 3, so we'll see what
right.
happens.
I would like
And
to
he's
see that he
already
can
elevated
play.
his team.
He
So
needs to be, in my opinion, I think he just needs to be able to show that he can play a lot of games. And if he plays a lot of games, elevating his team, that's a great team there right now. But like, a GOAT conversation would be if he elevates if he truly does elevate his team, if he could play 79 games and all of a sudden they win, instead of whatever I think they were 62-20, all of a sudden they start teasing, 70 win seasons. And all of a sudden, like, and even if they don't win playoff games, it's like they are the regular season domination. Like no one can beat them because he always plays. What if, he just starts being available and starts putting up godlike numbers if he really and playing 35 minutes a game instead of 29. I feel like the Spurs are trying to coddle him for like this ultimate run at some point. And when I go back and look at Wemby's stats, there was one year he played 46 games, but I don't think he was really hurt. I think they shut him down.
oh, he had the blood clots.
Oh, was it? So I guess he was hurt, but there was a season. I
Yeah.
felt like was there a season where he
They
wasn't
shut
hurt?
him down at the end of his rookie year.
But was that an injury? Was that blood clots, or was that something? Or is
No,
that just
blood
like
clots was last year.
so he just
He
want?
was
They just said we're done. Well, like we don't want to play him anymore.
Well, I guess it was like a serious risk issue, the blood clots, and he was able to get it under control in the
Mm,
offseason. I don't know the process behind that.
yeah.
It did happen to around the same time that happened to him. happened to a Patriots player as well who ended up missing the whole season, a defensive tackle with blood clot issues.
Mm,
So I don't know what's going on with that, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the process behind it, but he was shut down for that reason.
okay, then maybe that's different. This year he
Yeah,
played 64 games, and I know he got hurt a little bit. I
yeah.
just feel like
He
that's
had a
the
strained
answer.
calf.
Yeah, this guy, if he really wants to be a GOAT, he needs to separate himself from the current theme and not load manage and play minimum 75 games a season. And then he leads the league in all the stats. And then all of a sudden it's like you start saying, "Oh, he's doing so much for his team. They're winning more." I don't know. Update for the Laker game. They're up 65-42, 5 minutes left in the third.
Oh, they're
Um,
running away with that. The
they're
Rockets
running
never
away with
even
it.
made it a game.
Yeah, there's not really much that they can do. The Rockets are athletic, obviously, but without a reliable scoring force like Kevin Durant, he could just come down and hit a 15-footer. They're kind of scrambling. And it's funny, Reed Shepherd, who, you know, you would think, the white boy phenom from Kentucky, he's supposed to come in and just light it up, stretch the floor out. They're relying on Jabari Smith to shoot more than anyone, and yeah, he may have had 1 or 2 games good, but that's not good enough to beat, a veteran Laker team, and it's
No.
it's it's kinda sad, but the Rockets are
Jabari Smith
showing.
is a good player. He's been a little bit of a letdown from where he was drafted, I feel like.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an archetypical, like, perfect player, like, he's 6'10", like, wing.
Yes. His
You'd
dad
think.
played in the league.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, and LeBron played against him, I think, as well.
Yes, I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
the Rockets just don't have an identity, and the sad part is Kevin Durant as not a leader, as good he's probably the best player that you can have in history without having an identity, and he kinda just comes out there and puts
He
up
just
shots.
hoops. Yeah.
He just hoops, and that
Yeah.
helps, but it can only get you so far. You need a Steph Curry or a Draymond Green. You need, maybe a Kyrie Irving. It's funny, like, that Nets team, you had 3 guys that, maybe
Yes.
you don't really I'm almost apologetic for mentioning Kyrie, but you have 3 guys that are kind of just, "We just hoop," and
I
there's
don't like
not much
Kyrie
leadership.
Irving. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like him.
He's he said you don't? I just
I
bought I just bought his. Hold on, look at this now.
wait, I'll tell you why in a second. I actually don't I will amend that because I try not to be negative. Yeah, show what we
I
got.
just got the Kyrie threes, man. These are my
Oh,
first
those are
non-Nikes in like
nice.
20 years. I broke them in yesterday, walked around at work with them. I'll probably play in them next week. I can't wait.
I will tell you why I don't like Kyrie for a couple of
Go
reasons.
ahead,
It's
go
not that I
ahead.
don't like Kyrie. It's that I think people put him on lists that he doesn't belong on. And I
He
think that's
surely
starting to
doesn't. That's right.
like top 5 point guard lists and stuff. So one of all the time, believe me, I've seen him really okay. I'll get to the point, which is just that you said to yourself, he availability is one of the greatest abilities of the greatest ability. He has missed for one reason or another, he's missed 5 years now. five
Mm,
years of his career, if you could put the games together. I think it's more than 5 years. And he has three of the worst playoff drops for any alleged star that I can recall, and grossly so to the point where you couldn't even. I will say 2019 Boston versus Milwaukee, he was absolutely hideous in that
mm,
series. 2022, he's with Brooklyn. He's playing Boston. He's absolutely hideous in that series. 2024, I'm sorry, he gets carried by Luca. He doesn't play well in the Thunder series, and then he is pitiful in the Celtics series to the point where he has one good game. In the final game, he's a minus 25. He's putting up stat lines with like 15, 1, and 0, not shooting the ball well,
mhm.
being a negative on defense, box play, like just and when I say playoff drops, I'm not saying he shot the ball bad and he was doing nothing in shooting the ball bad in all three of those playoff series. And like I can't put you in these conversations because you do the fun things. That makes you better than you know what I mean? Like
I think that you are barking up an interesting tree. and I've mentioned this, and in fact, I think I mentioned this in my last video where my brother was having a conversation with me about the celebration of marketable players.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just the first shoes that I buy that are not Nikes are Kyrie Irvings, and they're pretty and they feel good, but
They
they're
do look
Kyrie
good. Yeah.
Irvings. And they're Kyrie Irvings, the same Kyrie Irving that's missed 5 NBA seasons. And he's only
Yes.
30, he's only
Three.
32. He's not
Yeah.
35. He's
Yeah.
32. He's arguably still in his prime. And it's like, but when you take the next step and it's like, well, who else do we celebrate like this? To a degree, we celebrate Kevin Durant like this. Some people hate him more. Some people like him more. We pay attention to him more, at the very least, because of the shoe deal.
Yep.
Again, I think Kevin Durant is still in my system. I think I have him top 10, maybe 11 all time. And that's just, look, he just puts up stats. He's efficient, blah, blah, blah. But when we look at these guys, we start looking at Kobe Bryant could get similar treatment because of the shoe deal, because of, like Kyrie, the way he plays is aesthetically pleasing. The fadeaway, the
Yeah.
crossover, the Mamba mentality, pulls his jersey. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
I hear Mamba mentality from grown men, talking about what makes a good player a good player. Mamba mentality. Well, what does that mean? You growl at someone. I don't you snarl, and you just win. But another one, Allen Iverson, he the epitome of a volume shooter. He shot his team out of winning as much as he shot them into it. And I would say more so out of it. I mean, he's had 30-point seasons and his team won 20, 25, 20, 28 games. He doesn't care. He's going to shoot.
But that general manager, in all fairness to Allen Iverson, should have been stocking shelves at a grocery store instead of being in. That's not a disrespect to
No.
the grocery stores. I'm saying he shouldn't have been a general manager.
Yeah.
It was,
He
dude. It
didn't have
was
much
this.
support.
He had, well, I mean, look at the starting five he took to 2001 finals. It's
Eric
George Lynch,
Snow.
Aaron McKee, Eric Snow. I'm not an Eric Snow fan, and in a 400-year-old Dikembe Mutombo. Now, you know what I mean. Mutombo was a good rebounder and a defensive player, but he wasn't an offensive player by any stretch of the imagination. But neither were those other guys, and all those other guys being wings were not offensive players. Eric Snow is one of the worst shooting point guards you could ever imagine. The team was poorly constructed.
To
I
call
think.
him a shooting guard would be a misnomer, to say the least. Yeah. What's up, ballers? Let's go Lakers. The Lakers are winning, J-Dub. That is correct. And Eddie did say, right, Kyrie is a player's player. And I think I started naming a bunch of other guys that are players or
Yeah.
fans players. And for that reason, they kind of get preferential treatment. And look, I agree that team was weird, and probably the general manager to blame. And a lot of teams have general managers to blame. Shout
Yeah.
out Chicago Bulls. But I will say that Allen Iverson had a chance to go to another team, and he didn't fit the bill of what they wanted to do. He said, I want to shoot, I want to be the star. And he kind of washed out in Denver. They said, we don't need your services here. What's your memory on those years with Allen Iverson and the Denver Nuggets?
They had one shot. It was his first year going there. His first year in Denver. What was it? 06, 07? I can't remember. It might be 06, 07. He's still doing Iverson things. I think he's averaging 26 and change. He's playing 40 minutes a night. He's getting 2 steals. He stood and he appeared in almost all. He appeared in a healthy amount of games, almost all the
That
games. I don't
was
remember.
07, 08. You're talking about
07, 08.
you're like on point. That was his second season, 82 games, 26 points a game, 7 assists. Continue.
Yep, and I believe they either got swept or they lost in 5 games to the Lakers in the first round. And they did have Melo on that team too. So that was a big letdown of a team. I think that was his best chance. That was the best team he had. He really didn't have good team. I'm not making excuses. His 76ers teams to me were not great teams, not well
Right.
constructed, not great. They were like, okay, here's a bunch of guys, shoot the ball a million times. So some of that efficiency isn't all on him. It was the way that it was constructed. But he had a squad with Denver, and they go out there. He's still doing Iverson things, and they crap the bed against the Lakers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It is tough to see the breaks for certain players, and you would hope that they get, that chance. And I could see the same thing. I could see the same thing with a lot of players. I could see the same thing with Kyrie Irving, even though he has his championship. But whatever the case may be, he's hurt. He's blackballed because of the COVID stuff with the Nets. There's a lot of things. You can think back. I was doing a video about someone. Bob Lanier was
I
another
love Bob
guy,
Lanier.
great center for the Pistons. Could never win because guess what? I mean, who's going to beat the Celtics? He goes to the Milwaukee Bucks. They may have been in the West at that point, but it's like you go to the Milwaukee Bucks and there's like a lot of good players, Sidney Moncrief and Marcus
No, Terry
Johnson.
Cummings, he follows me on TikTok. He's a cool dude.
Right on, right on.
And
Terry Cummings is on that team?
Terry Cummings, he's the only player to outscore Michael Jordan in a playoff series. And it was Michael Jordan's rookie season, and it was by 1 point. But Terry Cummings is the only player to outscore Jordan. But yeah,
So
he was
Jordan
on
has
some
led the play. Jordan has led playoff score every series in playoffs in scoring. Every series he's
except
played.
his
Except
in
that one.
total points, and it was Cummings outscored him by 1 point.
Crazy.
And that was it. And that was his rookie season. And Cummings finished 5th in MVP voting that year, and Jordan finished 6th in MVP voting.
He
So
was
yeah, to make your point, the Bucks had some great teams. They had Bobby Dandridge, and then Jack
Great.
Sikma, I think, replaced Bob Lanier when Bob Lanier retired.
And it's like, and those guys, they just don't get to win. And
They didn't get to win.
And it's kind of
Yeah.
sad. And it's like that doesn't make them a bad player, but I'll say that, if we're talking about winning as the objective and what do you do with the teams that you win with, I kind of like to focus on those players a little more. So it's like if you're consistently successful, it's going to benefit you in the long term, in legacy, in either subjective or objective rankings from my perspective. And look, we're watching the playoffs. The things that happen in this first round. Look at the Timberwolves and Ayo Dosunmu. The thing that he did, or Jaden McDaniels in the closeout game. Like those games are going to live on more so than the random AI games where he averaged 30 points a game in the regular season. It's just the nature of the scarcity of everyone's watching that game. It's on Prime or NBC, and all eyes are on that. It's those performances matter more, and so I count those more. And and for that reason, if you lose it, no one really feels sorry for you. It's just like they're just on to the next show, which is whoever's winning. They're the ones that we're watching. It's just that's why we watch it.
That's kind of my frustration when we go on some of these platforms. It's like I try to tell people, I'm like, okay, calm down. You saw one, this is what I'm saying. It's like they will watch one of these playoff games, and the next day, LeBron's the GOAT, Jokic sucks, Wemby's a top 20 player, SGA is better than Kobe. It's like, it's just everybody just needs to take a chill pill and just let it play out a little bit. You know what I mean?
I got a text from someone about a meme. Nikola Jokic playoff career got destroyed by LeBron, got destroyed by Curry. Played no one team ranked higher than a 5th seed to get a ring. Blew a 20-point game 7 lead. Got blown out in game 7. Only beaten one 50-plus win team. First round exit versus the Hospital Wolves. All-time personal record. I'm like, that's the legacy that Jokic had starting yesterday. But before that,
I know.
Before that, like all that stuff happened over the course of like maybe 5 years, and all of a sudden that's the current thing. This is
you watch one game, you're like, wait a minute, He
What
sucks.
happened?
Yeah,
What happened
no.
to potentially the best center of all time? Like,
Yeah.
oh, like he should have won 5 MVPs. Like he's the top 5 player. We can just call him top 5 player all time. Like
Now
the
he sucks.
sensationalism of
Yeah.
men, we call women like, oh, we call women, emotional and sensational and soap operas. Like, dude, can't you remember what you said last week before jumping on to the next bandwagon narrative? It's
Every SGA game they watch, you would think they just landed on the moon. I mean, it's like, bro.
do you get
Listen,
that?
I don't have any problem ranking newer players. I don't. I really don't. But I just preach patience. Let's put an example this way. And God forbid this happens, but if SGA broke his leg tomorrow and he never plays again, God forbid, we don't put him in top. We're like, wow, he had a great run. He won a title. He got an MVP, but then unfortunately his career, like, I never want that. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
if
I
any of that
completely
happened
do.
tomorrow, we wouldn't be saying, well, yeah, but he is better than Jordan. He is better than Kobe. No, you'd forget about him in 2 years. You wouldn't even be talking about him. I guarantee it.
You
I
are
know it.
very right. Bernard King is an example of that,
Yes, they were talking about him like that.
right. It's
You
like
know,
because there's a reason, and I talk about this with my, I mean, you're segueing to the reason why I made my channel in the first place. Over time, and this was like I think I started seeding this theory like maybe when a combination of the third quarter just ended, the Lakers up by 16, 71-55. It looks good for them.
hmm hmm
But I started seeding this topic, I think, when Kobe Bryant took that last contract with the Lakers, when he could have done the Tom Brady, Tim Duncan thing and maybe gotten some free agents, but he got the max that he could get, and started thinking, man, like, why do I should stop being a fan and start, if he's gonna like think about himself, maybe I should think like what's most important for me, the fan, and like forget all
yeah,
that. And then it's like I started talking about, legacies to my high school teammates. And I started saying, well, Duncan is like a very pronounced player. He's a very, he has a great career. And my high school teammates, and this was maybe 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, they said there's no way Duncan is better than Kevin Garnett. I'm like, what? Like, he has more
yeah.
titles, he has more points, he has more rebounds. Like, what gives? And they said this. There's probably two guys. Said in 2003 and 2004, there was no one better than Kevin Garnett. And I looked up the stats and I'm like, they're right.
That's
In
his
those
GOAT
2 years,
season. Yeah,
no one was better. And so I'm like,
yeah.
okay. So that's what drives people, are driven by particular seasons where, and you're a Boston guy. I bet a lot of people would talk about Larry Bird in 1986, right?
Well, the thing, his 3-year peak, he the three MVPs in a row, the three finals appearances with two wins. Yeah, 86 is everybody's, especially the old guys. I mean, people don't talk about it as much now, but they used to talk about it a lot when I was younger, obviously. But everybody swears 86 is the greatest team ever. They have a case for they have a case for the greatest passing team ever. But
Yeah.
no, they had a great team, and they put it together. Bill Walton was a great,
6 man
a six man on
or
that team.
rotation player. Yep.
Fantastic passer, and he was the only season of his career he was truly healthy, literally.
I mean,
But
the
yeah, people
championship
talk.
run, he was healthy.
He played in 96 out of the 100 total games they played that season between playoffs and regular season. But even in his MVP season with the Trailblazers, I think he only played, I want to say, 60 games. I
Interesting.
could be.
Let me pull that up. I
I think it
didn't know it
was
was that
the
low.
78 season he was MVP. 77 Blazers were the champion. Is the next season was MVP. I want to say he played 60 games.
MVP 58. Yeah, they gave him a
58.
very loving deal. 19 and 13 and 5 assists. Not a bad all around season.
But you see, the thing is, okay, when you look at that stat line, you're like, yeah, whatever. But let me tell you something. I don't know if you have, but I've deep dived some of those games. He really is some sort of difference maker. That guy was a freak when he was healthy, man. He really
No,
was.
no, No, 13 rebounds is nothing to laugh at, and he's very efficient scoring in a time when they weren't that efficient. I mean,
Yeah.
he's scoring 52% from the field. The centers back then, they were everyone was kind of under 50%. So our modern centers, because they're basically just playing dunk ball, DeAndre Jordan style, they're scoring 60% from the field. But like those guys, they were making fadeaways. They were, it was a lot of traffic in the key. And so even with all that, still shooting at above 50%, above 50 percentile. There's a reason why he was
He
good.
knew how
And
to play
72% from the field,
basketball.
from the free
He knew
throw.
how to play basketball. He was a smart. He just did everything right on the best. It's such a shame that he did get hurt. I don't mean to be
Yeah.
glazing Bill Walton for any reason, but
Right, right.
no, he really did know how to play basketball.
And there's a lot of guys that had that situation. Like
Yeah,
I never thought I'd mention Bernard King twice in a stream, but that's
yeah,
another example. But to go back to like the reasons why like I did my channel, it's like so my guy who liked Kevin Garnett, I understood that there's an importance for measuring how many great seasons did someone have. I also thought that there's obviously an importance on how much total contribution that you have. So like cumulative, like the Kareems and the LeBrons.
hmm
But there's people like Larry Bird who had a short career. Jordan had a relatively short career.
he
Uh,
did
George Mikan had a short career. And
very.
also the current players, if they're to be compared to all-time greats that played like Elvin Hayes and Kobe, who played 15 to 23 years, it's like, how do you compare how great they are without normalizing stuff? So it's like I take another category where I take like the above win shares over 48, which is
Yeah,
basically a normalization of how much you do while you're on the floor
yeah,
versus just total. And so if I take all those pillars, that's how I do my metrics. I average those together and I rank people based on how they perform in all three pillars. And people don't like that because, well, I like this player because of that, and I like that player because of this. But my thing is you should compare all players to the same standard. And
yep.
if you don't like my standard, come up with your own. And I ask people this, and they don't want to do it because
No,
when they
it's too
come up
much
with that
work.
standard, one, it's too much work. Two, it could ruin their perspective of I like this player, but he doesn't fall up, he doesn't measure up to the standard that I'm actually making, that I actually know is important, but my guy who is my favorite falls short, and I don't want to face that reality. So
Yeah,
we do have some zealots out there. And I think over time, like me not going to a big school where I don't have school spirit. So I'm not rah-rahing anyone. I've become like I think the most objective, basketball person I know. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but like I just don't care if LeBron somehow passed Jordan in all-time greatness because of my numbers. I don't care. But I get people who will argue randoms. They'll argue with me about because Westbrook is 90th, and they'll argue, and Allen Iverson is 97. And I know when they see Kobe at a certain rank, I'm not going to talk about it right now, but they'll argue with me about that. And it's like, dude, it's a game and it's a system. Make your own system, dude. Why are you
exactly.
defending these other men? It's kind of
It's
soft.
all unknowable anyway.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have your criteria and everyone's going to be different. So just do your list with a smile on your face because who cares?
Definitely.
Honestly, it's like Russell Westbrook. We're never going to know if Allen Iverson and Russell Westbrook are, we're never going to know that anyway. So just put what, you know what I mean? Who
No.
cares? You know, and people get so angry over you. I've put up lists before live, and
Mhm.
people get mad. Is like, why isn't they will literally get physically angry that some guy is at 16 and not 14. What do you even care about somebody's
That's
list? What do you care that he's not at 14? How does this affect your
so
day at any
marginal.
point?
Yeah,
It's
it's like
so
so
marginal.
like there,
Fine,
there
okay,
there's a
fine, I'll
room
put him
for
at
error.
14 if you'll stop whining. Yeah, you know, but
And
oh,
I there's another thing. It's like I also find it interesting how people put so much energy into comparing like LeBron versus Jordan or Kobe and LeBron, or they don't ever compare Kobe and Jordan. It's always like Jordan versus these other guys and why LeBron's worse than them. And it's like, okay, well, let's just say you have your order. Let's just say LeBron, let's just say Jordan and then LeBron, or let's just say Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. But who's the 18th best person? Who's the 27th? Who's the 48th? You know, and it's like, do you even care? Because
I'd rather talk about those guys than Jordan and
yeah,
LeBron all day at this point,
yeah,
honestly. You know, I would rather, I love talking about all kinds of different players. So, you
it's
know,
so interesting how it's like everything is gravitated towards that, and I just feel like it loses we lose out on opportunities to really celebrate a lot of the other greats that have been out there, and they've been lost in time. And it's so funny, like, I don't know, I one of my, like, long pole dreams for my channel is, like, maybe if it gets enough respect, like, some of those guys that don't get a lot of recognition, like, for instance, like, I have Adrian Dantley in, like, the high 40s or low 50s, something like that.
mhm.
Like, I would love to interview Adrian Dantley, you know? It's like, I would love to talk to some of these guys that's like, "Oh, wow," like, you know, I wanna celebrate how great you were that no one seems to care because they're too busy talking about Nike-sponsored athletes, go figure, or the current thing, and it's like, there are guys that were great in the past, and they should get their shine, and so I like to think that my channel does a little bit of that, but, it's, we'll see how much that recognition matters.
You know it does. You'll start. The, I'm not saying this for any reason, but I have about 20 something pro athletes that follow me now. It just kind of happens like that, and it's cool. And but you know, I was really mad about one though because I made a video about Elvin Hayes, who is one of my favorite all time players for a multi.
An
And you
Iron
talk
Man
about
as well,
durability. As Iron Man missed 9 games in his career,
right?
but I made a video about him. Spencer Haywood. I don't know if you're familiar with Spencer Haywood,
I
the
have him as
power
number
forward.
100 right now.
There you go. He liked the video and then he forwarded it to Elvin Hayes at Elvin Hayes, but Elvin Hayes never responded back. But I made a video about Spencer Haywood. I sent it to him too. But yeah, that kind of stuff just happens with these guys. I've actually interviewed quite a few NFL players,
Okay.
but I have a couple of NBA players. Eric and I work with a former NBA player. If Eric's still there, I don't know. Have you been talking to him lately, Eric? Because we're supposed to get him on. He was actually drafted by the Suns in the 90s, Ruben Garces. And Dana Barros also follows me, and we're trying to set something up. So hopefully I
Right
can
on.
interview
Former
interview
Celtic
him soon.
Celtic
Yep.
legend.
And he had
Yeah.
his great Sixers season. I think we might have been talking about that before.
He
But
was on he was did he play on the Sonics as well? I feel like he played on 2 green teams. I think
yeah,
he was
yeah,
on the
the
Sonics as well.
Sonics. Yeah, he was on the Sonics. The Sixers right before Iverson got there. He had his 25 point a game
Hmm.
season, which is actually a really weird season, by the way, because it's not a guy who was on a bad team scoring points. It was that, but his advanced metrics were pretty good. He was actually really good advanced metrics wise too. But
Hmm.
yeah, so hopefully he can get those guys in. A guy in the community he in the last 2 days he interviewed Bob Ryan and Xavier McDaniel 2 days in a
Okay.
row. So
Okay.
Bob Ryan is one of the GOAT sports reporters. He actually covered Bill Russell to Larry Bird. He still coaches. He still covers the Celtics now. That's how old the guy is, but he got him on there. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
you'll
Uh
meet guys. Trust me.
Yeah, no, that's I've trained with Olden Polynice. He's actually it's
Oh,
so funny. Like maybe about 15 years ago, like he was like I was working out with him when I was
so
25
cool.
years old, but trying to see how far I can go, in a part-time capacity, maybe play on some semi-pro teams. And it's amazing how a 7-foot center can teach you how to play, who played in the NBA could teach you how to play a guard. I was never so sharp as when I was done working out with him. It was very, very interesting. I had also played in leagues, local kind of pro-am leagues with Doug Christie,
Oh yeah,
who's an
yeah,
extremely nice guy, maybe too nice.
yeah.
And Brian McKnight was on that team who could shoot from
Oh,
afar, but and so that's how he kind of was able to attract
he was
like
a good
NBA guys.
basketball
He's
player,
not he's
Brian
not too
McKnight.
bad of a good ball player,
Yeah.
yeah. And whatchamacallit, I was in that same league when Doug Christie was on my team. I was guarding Jalen Rose,
Oh,
and
jeez.
Katino Mobley on different teams, luckily. But
Cat.
um, yeah, Jalen Rose was he didn't want to shoot, probably for good reason, but he was definitely a good distributor. And he, for some reason, he said like I was a good shooter and I was absolutely bricking that day. So I don't know why. Maybe I was a little nervous playing against him. Katino Mobley was he liked to growl. He was a Mamba mentality, and he's always
Yeah.
snarling at me. I'm like, and I was just smiling like, what you, man, don't you know you're my hero? Like, why don't you smile? And he,
I saw him play in college.
a very good player.
Yeah.
He's a big guard, like
Yeah.
like insanely and very, very strong. Even in his older age, like I mean, I was probably 30, maybe 29 while I was playing against him, and maybe he was 38, 40.
Yeah.
But he was strong, very,
Oh
very
yeah.
strong. And so it's like, so I run into those guys, but like, I kind of wish that I was I kind of wish I had this idea a little earlier because I would have been in touch with them more. Now I've kind of like tossed that world out. But who knows what will come about, with as I
It's
continue to
fine.
propagate
Is
this.
if you just keep plugging away, get
Yeah.
followers, you'll have more followers than most of these guys.
Yeah, yeah. that's
And
that's how it works, right? Yeah. Oh my
I'll
gosh.
tell you another thing. I got an Olden Polynese thing for you. I'm glad you brought him up. They asked him point blank, and I'm not saying this for you. They said, "Who's better, Bird or Magic Johnson?" And he goes, "Larry Bird." He goes, "Everybody knows." He goes, "Everybody knows Larry Bird's better." I was like,
I would say
"Wow!" I didn't expect him to say that at all. Like, I thought he was
it's
going to say
interesting.
Magic was better, but he's like, "Come on,
Yeah, it's a
Larry Bird's
that
better."
just being again, what's the objective? To put a ball in the basket, and that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean he has a better career, but
No, I'm a huge
um,
Magic Johnson fan.
right. And
Huge. Yeah.
I think his accolades speak for himself. I mean, Bird has 3 MVPs, Magic has 3 MVPs, but getting to the finals 9 times and you're the primary reason why, there's got to be something about that. And so, like and that's the thing. Like Olden is speaking probably one-on-one skills. I mean, there's still people out there who are celebrating. What's the guy who plays in the Big Three? Slightly younger than me. I forget his name. 6'8". He was drafted number 2 as a washout, but he's like
Oh,
there's
Jabari Parker.
no, he played for the Heat. I forget his name. But this guy is like this one-on-one like phenom,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
people are like
Beasley, Michael Beasley.
Michael Beasley.
Yeah.
And they're touting him right now. And it's like, yeah, you could probably beat a bunch of NBA players in one-on-one. Bird can probably beat Magic in one-on-one. But the
Yeah.
things that Magic did for his team, with the squad that he had, seemingly over the body of hundreds of games, was more successful than what Larry did for his team. And that's just objective. Like, of course, he was in the West, they was in the East. You want to say the East was harder back then, whatever.
That's probably the last time the East was better.
This year, and by the way, shout out to my little brother who wanted to remind me, don't forget, you guarded Baron Davis in the last year of the Drew League. And it was a very good picture. You have Baron Davis like looking over his shoulder, and I'm like this. And the guys, my teams, I was a defender. My teams always had me guard. Like I was like the point of attack guy on these pro-am teams, like Thabo Cephalosha or Bruce Bowen, and I can make a
Yeah.
3, but I'm not the guy who's breaking someone down, but I'm more of a 3 and D at the higher levels of competition. And so yeah, I had to guard Baron Davis. I had to guard this one guy who, like, and normally I had to guard Agent Zero. I held him to like 18 points. I held him to 18 points the year that year that I was playing with Doug Christie. And I held him to 18, maybe 19 points. And, I had to guard this other guy. I don't know who he was. It was like everyone said, you're guarding him. I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's like he's 6'5", kind of muscly. And he's hitting step back threes and driving and taking it on me and getting by me and dunking on someone else. And I think we may have won that game, but I'm like, who was that I was guarding? And I'm like, this was 2015. And someone came up to me, it's like, oh, that's Stanley Johnson. He's the #1 high school player in the nation.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So you guys are going to just throw a grenade at me when this guy, and by the way, that was probably his prime because his NBA career was definitely not that good. But I had to guard the high school player of the year, and he did a better job against me than a Gilbert Arenas in his I would say in his mid 30s.
Jeez.
Very, very interesting. It's amazing how good some players can be. And again, like Stanley Johnson, 6'6" and just muscly as an 18-year-old. I thought he was a 28-year-old like
Oh
overseas
yeah.
player. Is 18 from modern day. Go figure.
I'm
I
sorry.
lost my track what I left on, but that's
That's okay. We were rabbit holing it.
we're rabbit holing.
We
Man.
went
It's
down to
fun.
the yeah, the how they would have fared one on one, bird, magic, all that stuff. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think that's right. So and then you have Beasley, and I think that that's an indicator of people are kind of missing out on the objectives of an NBA game or of a team basketball game. And it's like, yeah, Allen Iverson could cross over and take anyone and beat someone in a one-on-one game, but guess what? You probably don't need a 6-foot guard necessarily to be a successful team. It could Allen Iverson doesn't necessarily isn't a bad piece to have. But someone who's 6'6" and may score half his points may be maybe better situated for your team. So it's like, there's you know, individual, I guess, productivity, and then there's individual productivity in a team environment. And I think that's what a lot of fans forget because we are in this world where it's where highlight focused and sponsorship
Yeah.
focused commercialism. And it's like, well, what are you looking at? You're looking at the guy who crossed someone over and dunked on someone. But it's like, Darius Miles was doing that, and we don't see him too long in the league. Austin Reeves just limped off the floor when the Lakers are up by 24. He's
That's
not
not good.
going to the locker room, but I think he's probably going to chill out for the rest of the game. They seem to have this one in the bag.
I have a
So,
funny Darius Miles story.
well, gosh.
Well, he and I are in the same high school class. So the McDonald's All American game my senior year was in Boston. And he ended up getting MVP of the All American game. But there was a guy from the school with my sisters that was in the All American game, and he was 7'7", Neil Fingleton. He went to North Carolina and then he transferred to Holy Cross. He ended up becoming an actor in Hollywood. And as a 7'7" guy, he was in Game of Thrones. He was in Keanu Reeves movies, all kinds of
He's the
shit like that.
mountain?
No, he played one of the giants on Game of Thrones. That was like the giant that was running. Like I can't. You'd have to look this guy up, Neil Fingleton. He passed away, but
Oh,
he was
wow.
in that All American game. But Darius Miles dunked on him,
Oh,
like,
wow.
like he dunked on Neil Fingleton bad.
It's
You
hard to
know,
keep that heart up when you're that big. It's
that's
just
he passed at 39, maybe, or
yeah,
38
man.
years
That
old.
happens when you're
Unfortunately,
that big, that heart's working a whole lot harder, man. It's
yeah.
just more miles on how much blood that's pumping. That's crazy.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, Darius Miles, he was a freak athlete, but like that's really all he did. And it wasn't good enough to get noticed by the NBA, but I think they quickly figured out he couldn't play within any
He was
type of
like
system.
Stromile Swift. Like it was like a year or two ahead of him. Stromile Swift was
He could
6'10",
dunk on
jumping
people.
out of the gym like that.
Wow. Yeah,
You know.
crazy highlights. But yeah, it's like,
Yes.
and even in a time, that's the funny thing. Darius Miles washed out in the NBA during a time when it was ISO heavy, when it's like, hey,
Yeah.
they were passing less than, and you can look at the league stats over the course of, decades, year by year. And the time when Miles was playing, like teams were getting 19 assists a game. And for comparison, like nowadays they're getting 25, 26 to 28 assists a game. Like it's
Maybe he was
very
playing in the
different.
wrong time because he just wasn't the kind of guy that was going to break you off the dribble like that.
Yeah, he's more
He
of a
just wasn't.
yeah, definitely could be a slasher that can play right now, I think. Even if he wasn't like a great three-point shooter, like the spacing on the floor now could
You might
serve
even put him
him.
as a rim running center at 6'9".
He
You know
was
what I
long,
mean?
he was long, yeah.
He
A
was long at
small
least, but
lineup?
if you
Yeah.
if you're putting him in a small, like Robert Williams was playing center for the Celtics, he does have long arms, but he was
He's
6'8"
6'8",
starting center. You know,
and
that's shorter than Bill Russell is.
he's doing
So
great on the
yes,
Rockets
he
right now
always
when
was a
healthy.
really good player
He's
when
just
healthy.
so explosive, and it's like it's funny. I see that series, the Blazers and the Spurs. They got Cornette on from the Celtics. They got Robert Williams from the Celtics. They got
Yep.
Drew Holiday
Drew
from the
Holiday.
Celtics, and I believe there's one more. I always forget the last one. Cornette, Holiday, Robert Williams, and I there's like there are there's
Trying to
4
think. Yeah, I
Celtic
think there
alumni
is one.
recent
Yeah, I
ones,
think you're right.
and it's like, wow. And both of those teams put up such a like the Blazers weren't like a scrub performance. Like they won some games and they fought. So it's like it's funny how a lot of players are coming from that Celtic kind of system, that Celtic coaching tree or player tree,
Mhm.
and they may get hurt or may just get traded away or may they think they're old, but Holiday, was
Holiday was a bad loss for
most
the
important
Celtics.
player on that team, and
He was
he's
a bad loss,
yeah.
you know.
I would, do you think a loss because they did kind of get what did they trade him for?
Well, they really to the Blazers, and they traded him for Anthony Simons.
That was, and then they traded him for this is the
Vucevic.
yeah, this was a cap move.
It
They were
was a
about to
cap move.
they were going to get too expensive, but I will say this, I thought that Drew Holiday was showing a little had a little bit of of a laggardness of a lag in that last season with Boston. He
I
wasn't the
agree.
defensive like phenom that we were used to, and he was getting beat off the dribble. And he was he's kind of like kind of like Horford. It's like you kind of just stick him in the corner because there's a lot of athletes that are just getting by him or taking advantage of him. But maybe he was hurt because he's definitely not. He was definitely in the center of the action in this last series, and for the old guys in the room, I'm happy to see that. It makes me want to continue pushing the gym. And it's like if he can do it, he's 6 years younger than me, but if he can do it, I can do it too.
It inspires me to yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why it's
But
like
I think
I
you
love
know
seeing them.
why Holiday was such a relief to Celtics fans was because we had spent all those years watching Marcus Smart take unnatural, confident shots. I thought Marcus Smart was one of the most unintelligent players when I watched him. It was unbelievable. And the fact was that Tatum and Brown got better when he left
Mm,
because it was like when the clock would be running down, who should have the ball, Brown or Tatum? Because whatever quarter it was, the
right.
clock is running. No, Marcus Smart's taking the shot. You didn't know? Oh, Marcus Smart's taking the
Crazy.
shot. Exactly, because he had an unnatural confidence. He would never hit the shots. And some of his turnovers, he would try to make these one hand shovel passes all the time. He would make one or two every game and throw them into the stands. I mean, he was just not a consistent ball handler, not a great shooter. I'd never seen someone airball more shots that they took with more confidence and piss and vinegar in my life. But when Drew Holiday came there, it was a breath of fresh air to the way Marcus Smart was playing. And I can't say enough bad things about that. I'm telling you, his defensive player of the year thing was bull. I'm sorry, it was. And I'm a Celtics fan.
I do think that Marcus Smart was yeah. There's
He
probably a
played
little bit of
stupid.
a
I'm sorry. He
yeah.
did.
I think that there was that time that Celtics that ramp up to the championship There were those indicators of the Celtics fall apart when it matters most, and it's like
Yes.
they're just like, oh, and Marcus Smart was in the center of it, and they're just like, deer in the headlights. They were so good in the regular season, and then, you know, I remember. I guess like looking back, yeah, it was Marcus Smart in the middle of it. I thought Tatum had some issues like in the play, like kind of like these Harden-esque kind of outputs, but you're probably right. Maybe it was maybe it was Smart that was kind of the
There was
center
a
of it.
mini power struggle going on that nobody
Mhm.
talks about. And it's the truth of it.
It happened with
Because
Kyrie as
Marcus
well.
Smart thought he was on their level like that.
Right.
You know, he
But
thought he was on the level with Jalen Brown and Tatum.
was there a power struggle with Kyrie and those 2?
No, no,
No?
no.
Okay.
I will tell you this because they looked up to Kyrie because they were both super young players when Kyrie got there. Tatum was a rookie when Kyrie got there, and
Mhm.
Kyrie got hurt 60% through the season or whatever it was when he missed the rest of the season with the knee injury, and Tatum and Brown ended up making the run where they took LeBron to 7 games with the Cavs. But yet, no, there was no power struggle with Irving, I don't actually know what was wrong with Kyrie Irving at that time. Celtics fans don't dislike him because he lied to them. That's not why Celtics fans dislike him. That's not why. When he said, I will resign with you, and he didn't, that's not why we don't like him. We don't like him because of how he performed in that Bucks series. I said this before. The 2019 Bucks series is what true Celtics fans hold against him, because you're not a Celtic if you show up in a series and you don't give your all in a series, and you take horrific shots like you'd rather be anywhere else. That's what people hold against him. Anything else would have been forgiven, but not trying in a playoff series, which he blatantly didn't, which is why I cannot watch that and then blow smoke up his ass like other people can. I
I
can't do
look
it
for I look
because
for
I
reasons to
watched
put
that.
him. I look for reasons to put him in the all-time greatness because look, I'm wearing his shoes. I've worn his shoes before. Like probably anyone who's watched this, all of my LA guys here, they like his game. Like he is like he
He's
plays like
fun.
NBA Street. Like you
Yeah, he's
like that's
fun.
straight up a video game set of moves. Guard scores at multiple levels, but he's not available when it matters. And that's really what it boils down to. If you just show up. But guess what? I think the NBA, I think he's led the culture shift of I don't have to show up. Kawhi Leonard's similar. Because I get paid so much money, I don't really, and you're gonna pay it to me anyways. I really don't need to show up. And it's sad to say he's right. And for that reason, there's going to be a lot of players that played a long time ago that played a lot of games, Elvin Hayes, the Dan Issels, the guys that you think the Bob Pettits, the guys that you think there's no way this person is all-time great, but they were present and their 25 points a game is better than Kyrie's 25 points a game because Kyrie did it in 40 games and
Yeah,
Elvin Hayes did it in 82. And you
yeah.
don't want to go that far back. You can go to the 80s, you can go to the 90s, but those games, the modern player will have a disadvantage in an objective, in an honest ranking system because these modern players aren't showing up. But there's a plus and minus to that. And by the way, 50 seconds left. The Lakers are up by 22.
Yeah.
Lakers are definitely going to be going to the second round. We'll get to that and maybe we'll close on that. But
Yeah.
the modern player is not going to be able to compete with the productivity of the old player. And I feel like if you don't acknowledge the availability aspect, then what you're saying is that you don't that you're basically basing your judgment of players on what could be or what you would like to think, but not what actually happened. Because
That
what
is what
actually
they do
happened,
now.
yeah, what actually happened is that person played versus that person played. I don't like how what will happen for the Minnesota series if we just glaze over that kind of stuff. We'll forget that Anthony Edwards didn't even play in this series. It was the others that carried it. It was Gobert guarding Jokic, Dosumu getting 40, Jaden McDaniels getting 32. But let's just say Edwards comes back and does Anthony Edwards things and maybe gets to the finals. They're just going to wash over all of that. But I wouldn't do
Yeah.
that in my system. So it's like we have to really think about how we judge these players and not just give credit to the guy who has the Sprite deal or the Nike deal. Um, I don't think I'm too wrong on that.
No, I don't think so at all. But it's just guys that are marketable, guys that do the fun things. Like this guy on TikTok says, he goes, Kyrie does the fun things. So Kyrie does the fun things. That's really
Those
it.
fun things. That's it.
You
Hey,
know, but I don't dislike Kyrie. I don't want to make it sound like that. I just think he gets overrated historically. I really like doing videos on all different kind of players because I like the value of different people and I like their games and what they bring. That's fascinating to me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I really do see the value in most players. I really do. So I try to be positive, but I do think Kyrie is on a lot of things he doesn't belong on for a lot of reasons. So You know.
Let's talk about real quick. So it looks like the West is set with the
Yeah.
Thunder, the Lakers, the Wolves, and the Spurs. I'd like to get your feedback on what you think about both of those series and who's going to be ending up in the Western Conference Finals, and maybe we'll have another conversation on the precipice of that next round. What are your
I think
thoughts?
it's going to be San Antonio and Oklahoma City. I do think it's going to be there.
Okay.
I really do. What do you think?
Well, how much so do you think? Let's pick at that one. You think OKC is going to like a knife, like a hot knife through butter with the Lakers, or you think the Lakers
Yes.
are going to give?
Yes. Listen, this is what I say to you. I said this earlier in the podcast. It's like I am not doo-dooing on LeBron, but this doesn't move me in the GOAT conversation because
Right,
they beat the Rockets. This Rockets team look like this is the team that's going to decide who the GOAT is? Are you kidding me? Please.
right.
Okay. Yes, it's going to be probably a sweep. I'm going to be honest, especially if Luca does not play. And I'm sure you're an athlete. You've done hamstrings. I've done hamstrings. They don't
It's a
heal.
while. Yeah,
They don't heal. He's not, even if he plays, he's not. If Luca's not fast enough to keep up with these guys, and he's not at 100%, it's not happening. They're gonna get swept, whether he plays or not. They're gonna get swept. It might go 5 games, but how do they win? How do they match up with Oklahoma? How do they? Like I don't see it happening. Do you?
they don't. They don't. It's going to be they got Oklahoma City was on rookie mode playing against the Lakers during the regular season. I've never seen so many oh my gosh threes. I can't believe he made that. I can't believe
Yeah.
they scoring 50 points darn near in a quarter. There's no way. And then without Luca,
There's no
honestly,
way.
I think Luca will hide in this series. He'll probably say, "You don't have to rush me back." So, what about the Thunder and I'm sorry, the Spurs and the Timberwolves? Let's just say that Ant Edwards comes back by game 2,
Yeah. Ah, I
which
still
would
want
probably
to
be a
go
big.
with the Spurs. I made the joke today. I said the Spurs would beat the Timberwolves. They go, "What about Rudy and Wemby?" I go, "Well, Wemby cooked Rudy when he was 12." There was a
That was the highlights. Like I remember seeing this. Like, wait, he's how old? And
I think
he's
he was
that big?
14. I think he
Yeah,
was
it
like
was like
14,
14, 15, but
but he
he was
cooked
hitting him with
Rudy.
the elbow shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
Wemby is going to see. I've played against you, big bro, and I know your game. I'm familiar with your game. We may see
exactly.
a side of Wemby we've never seen before because he'll feel at home. Like I play in my home gym at Lameda Park, and for some reason I'm making step back threes. I'm doing
Yep.
Euro steps, getting into people. Why? Because I played in that gym for 25 years. Then I go
Yep.
play in another gym that's same 10-foot rim, but it's like the familiarity brings consistency, breeds efficiency, breeds repeatability, and these pros have another level of it. I think we're going to see a very interesting Wimby. And I
Yes.
wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs probably win this one in probably
How
5 games.
many minutes? I don't know this off the top of my head. I know he averaged, I think it was 28 or 29 minutes a game. How many minutes a game did he average in this series? Do you know? Did they jack? I honestly don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were cautious, especially because he
The
did have that
concussion.
concussion. So
Yeah.
that would probably, let's see, I'm looking at 20 last 5 games, 26, 33, 12, 34, 34. And I think they had a 6 game series, but that kind of
Yeah.
it's playing a little bit more than the regular season.
34 to me is where they max him out at.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
they really do. They really don't let
They
him
do
play
not
above
play
34
him.
minutes.
But
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying like that's a little bit more. You see all these other players, all these other stars, they're playing 40 minutes. Like this year in particular, like no one on the bench is playing. One guy
It's the
maybe.
playoffs.
It's
It's the
crazy.
playoffs.
It's so funny. They fired Tom Thibodeau for that very same thing, and now everyone's taking the Thibodeau formula. Go figure.
Would
I guess
you think
that's what you get for load managing. Now you can play the whole game, every game for the playoffs. There you
exactly?
go.
Wilt used to do
Interesting.
it without load management. No, but Wemby though, do you think they would if they go up against Oklahoma? Do you think they consider playing him in 42 minutes in a game if they really need it? Like, Would
I
they?
think they're gonna have to because Oklahoma City, in my opinion, is the perfect team. They shoot two. They don't make mistakes. Like hand down, man down. Old Mark Jackson saying like they they pass the ball well, and when they need a bucket, here's the funny thing: SGA, their point of attack guy, he doesn't need to get to the rim to score. So therefore, it's like Wemby has to come out on that. And then it's like, okay, Wemby comes out, bam, 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 swing. All of a sudden, Holmgren's cutting and Wemby's out of position. I just don't. I think that the NBA is going to sort of evolve away from the 3-point line, the stagnant 3-point shooter, and we're going to start seeing more players that can actually score in the mid range again. It'll take time, but SGA, in my opinion, is the future, who is technically just 30 years in the past. He's basically, the mid range guru like Paul Pierce or Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan.
Jaylen Brown's a good mid-range shooter.
Jaylen Brown. I think they are the future, and I think that archetype will give Wemby problems because you're going to have him in kind of a no man's land where you're not challenging a long range three, but you're still a high accurate position, highly accurate shot where you're avoiding the center blocking shots near the rim. So you're kind of neutralizing the threat that Wemby is. That's what I'm thinking, and I think that we'll see if that plays out in the OKC series.
You're talking about as a shot blocker or as a shot intimidator?
I think, yeah,
Like,
as a shot intimidator, shot blocker, I think the good thing about, again, that SGA archetype is that the shot blocker wants you to get near the rim. And it's like,
yeah.
I'm not coming there. I'm going to be 12 feet. I'm going to be 15 feet. And you're not going, you may disrupt me a little bit, but nowhere near as much as if you're waving the big arms at the 3-point line or you're trying to block a shot near the rim.
We're already seeing that. It's funny you mentioned that. We're already seeing it because his shot blocks are actually down considerably. I think he's at 3.1. He might have been 3.8 last year and 3.6 his rookie year. I think the numbers were, but that doesn't mean he's less of a shot blocker.
No.
That means that he's making people think twice about even shooting on him in the first place.
That's or the type of shots they're taking, and so
the type of shots they're taking
altogether. Yeah. And in order to avoid him, I think you're gonna have to say, can I hit a mid-range shot away from the rim
exactly
and not try to challenge a 3-point shot? So we'll see. We'll see. But on that note, I mean, we've been going for an hour 45 minutes. I think it's a good time to call it. The game's over, and while there's maybe more people joining us after the Laker game, that we don't want to be too greedy. So Tony, it was a great time talking hoops with you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Again, I appreciate Global Game Day for collaborating with the humble, highly regarded channel, and I'm hoping to grow big like you guys one day.
Appreciate you. I mean, it's Global Game Day highlights. It's a bear, but it's awesome. So we appreciate your support, and yeah, you are a rising star in this content game. I can tell you, man. You got that pizzazz about you. So keep ripping. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys, for the people who joined the show, tune in next time. I'll make sure to keep you guys posted. Global Game Day highlights will be sure to keep you guys posted on their end, and maybe we'll have another collaboration in the near future. Take care now.
You got it. Thanks, man.